Hey everybody, welcome to the Phil and Cory Show.
Hey guys.
Hey guys, how are you guys? Welcome to the Phil and Cory Show, where we tell the story of American small business success through the mentorship of key people. A fresh look inside business every Tuesday and Thursday at noon Central, live on Facebook. And guys, don't forget that YouTube channel.
Guys, we are sponsored by one of the best companies out there, Pecan Ridge, keeping us healthy with pecans. Get your gifts and pecan treats from Pecan Ridge this week. Even if you live in New Jersey, you can get pecans from Pecan Ridge.
Not in 22 hours, but
you gotta wait for some shipping, guys. But you can get them all the way up in New Jersey. As long as you wait for that shipping, they can get it. What do you got a day shipping over there, Dylan, for that kind of stuff?
1 to 2 day shipping. We are good or better than Amazon.
So
fantastic.
International as well, Dylan? Can you all do international shipping?
Oh heck yeah, yeah. We've done that several times actually. UK, Singapore, and Japan. Actually. Oh, and Russia. That was cool.
Well,
so
awesome.
The worldwide
pecanridge.com. Or give them a shout at 806-794-2022.
And don't forget about All Flowered Up too as well. They are awesome people down there. If you need flowers in Lubbock, you know what to do. Call or click allfloweredup2.com. That's TOO, allfloweredup2.com, or 806-993-0078. And as always, you can find the links to the descriptions in the link to our sponsors in the description. Let's see if I can talk today.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you to our generous sponsors. Thank you guys. You keep the show running and keep our software paid for so we can broadcast to all these platforms.
Man, so it looked like we were going to have Matthew Seagroves, owner of Expert Tech, on, but he had a little bit of a last-minute emergency. Totally understand. Hey, those are the times. So I thought, Cory, can we talk to you? Can we get your insight? Lubbock Consulting, I mean, I always do the pitch for it, but I got to know more about it. So is it cool if we ask you some questions today?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
Ladies and gentlemen and listeners, so what we're saying is today it is the Phil and Dylan Show, and we are
Dylan
Cory from Lubbock Consulting.
Yeah.
I love it.
So what do you want to know?
Everything. First, how did you get started? Like how does someone get in the consulting business? Because before you get into this world, like how is that something you know you're good at before you've done it? How is that something you know you want to go to school for?
Well, so I didn't go to school for that, and I think if you ask most consultants, they will tell you they got into it because of dark times. But that's kind of a joke in the industry that it's kind of just a life sucking thing, and you're always doing stuff and you're always working. And that's kind of true, but I really like to do it. I started in school for architecture. So I went in the Army, was in aviation for a while, did aviation operations. Our unit was doing stuff in Afghanistan, and we ran all kinds of operations all over the United States. We guarded the border a little bit as well with our helicopters. We had scout helicopters, so that was really kind of an introduction into leadership and into the operations side of things. When I got into college, I started in architectural and civil engineering, and I enjoyed some of that. The civil engineering I got out of pretty quick. And little did I know that I'd be doing, I was like, I don't really like that, the math and everything. And I ended up doing a lot more math later. But, so I started doing architectural and business. And then I realized that architecture was purely subjective. There was, do I like this? Do I not like this? Well, this is the grade you're getting because I'm the professor and I don't like your work. And I was working really hard at it, and I realized that I just wasn't going to be anywhere close to the best. And I really do want to be, I want to get those A's, and I want to, make sure my class time is good. So I dropped that. I found business to be very intriguing. So I went business with a focus on entrepreneurship. So I did business management out at Texas Tech, which is a great school. And the architecture department over there was also great. It just wasn't for me. So I found my knack over there, and really liked statistics, really liked all of the math involved with statistics. And so I got out of that and took a job with Caterpillar up in Chicago. And I realized that over the last 10 years, including the military and whatnot, at the time it's 10 years, that I'd been doing continuous improvement for businesses internally. And so I started looking for a job in that vein. There's a job title called continuous improvement manager. And I was like, that's me, right? And so, it's really nice to be able to discover, hey, these are the things I've been doing. And so I started chasing after that. Well, working for a company and applying for things and doing that kind of thing. I ended up meeting somebody and they said, hey, why don't you come consult for my company in the meantime? And so I went out there and I actually enjoyed that work so much that I was like, let's do consulting instead of going and looking for a job within one company. Let's hop around to different companies and help everyone. Right. And so uh, I really have loved it. And that's kind of why I got started. That's kind of the long and short of that. And so I really do enjoy doing the work. And I just kind of stumbled upon it. Right. Luckily, I found what I think is a calling of mine. So I think I really enjoy it. I would say the real challenge would probably be inside of a large corporation as that manager, because you do have several simultaneous projects. As a continuous improvement director, you are directing those programs, and it doesn't matter. You might have, let's say, you're a continuous improvement director at a hospital. Well, the cardio center may be needing some kind of improvement program, and then you also may have something in the infancy kind of division over there. So you may be running simultaneous improvement programs. Um, I think that's similar to what I do. I don't really find it difficult. There are times, I mean, I talk a lot about capacity. My capacity is limited as well, just because I am the product and service of my company. I'm a solopreneur, as they say. So my capacity is limited in that sense, and I kind of know my limits as well. So I've discovered some things, hey, about myself. How much can you really work? How much coffee can you really drink? I don't really find it difficult to juggle those things, but I do think that you need to know as a solopreneur your limits and where your capacities lie.
It's interesting you talk about capacity because I think a lot of small and medium-sized businesses hear business consulting or the term business consultant, and they think that is not for them because they're not, in some high-rise East Coast Dallas office, that they think they don't need a business consulting. But actually, when you're a small and medium business, that's the time when you need it the most, because that's when you really need to test things like the elasticity of your products and things like that. So can you just kind of explain to small or medium businesses who may be thinking, hey, this thing is like totally not for me, like not even close, like right now is the time. Actually, you don't want to wait. Now is the time.
Absolutely. Let's get into a couple of things on that vein right there. So you think about GE, when GE hires a 30,000 or even let's say a $60,000 a year employee, right? That's not a drop in the bucket for GE. When a small business hires a 30,000 or $60,000 employee, that's a huge piece of taking away
It's a
from your
big investment.
revenue if they're not being created, if they're not creating revenue right away. Hey, I've got to train this person up. Hey, I've got to spend time training this person. I've got to pay them while they're being trained. I've got to do all of these other things. That's a huge shift in your business. If you've got 5 people, or if you got 4 people and you're increasing to a 5th person, I mean, now that's 20% of your payroll going to that one person, you know, in
Yeah.
a lot of things. So the big impact is something that a lot of people don't realize, or they realize that it's a big impact, but they don't realize how to get it done, right? And so that's kind of where I step in. There is those little things that might be big business things, those affect small businesses in a more drastic way. So we come in and iron out some of those wrinkles and make sure that we're making good decisions. Good decisions now lead to bigger business and better business and healthier employees down the road. So if you can make good decisions right now as a small business owner, then that's your small business may be a medium-sized business or a large business in the future. And that's what we want our clients to have is a better income, more food on the table for everyone involved, employ more people, and have a healthier lifestyle.
So like, yeah, this is something I've realized in IT, which is, you've got these small businesses and they need things, right? Like, so they need someone to answer the phone, they need someone to take orders and all this, and while answering the phone needs to be something that's personal. And when we talk about things like getting leads and tracking things, I always pitch that, hey, if you can get technology to do something an employee can normally do, you're much better off, because your employees are a very expensive resource. And especially for a small business, those little things matter so much. For instance, if you lose a computer in a small business, how much of your workforce is affected? 20%.
Yeah.
Well, imagine if you were like Chevron and 20% of your employees couldn't work. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It would like
Exactly.
destroy you, right? So like, most people don't think about it, but it's kind of, I think about it like kind of like flying a plane, like where, well, I mean, we have all these variables we need to keep within these certain limits, right? And in a small business, like losing one thing can seriously push us outside of that green arc and into that
Yeah.
red arc, right?
Yeah, and if doing just one thing is that bad, I like how you said ironing out all the kinks of your business, because that allows business owners to compound on their successes rather than compounding all their mistakes and all their failures, to where one day you're just in a hole and you're like, oh my gosh, what is happening?
Yeah.
Where if you step in, when business owners are first taking hold and really getting their business together, they're able to have that pathway already established where they're not making all these crazy mistakes, to where 4 months from now, they're like, what is going on? Where is this money going?
Yeah, I see a lot of business owners, and this is kind of probably needs to be ironed out as well on the storytelling side of things. But I see a lot of business owners, they build all these roads that go nowhere.
Yes.
And what I want to do is come in and build a train track, and it goes one direction. And maybe there's a little bit of backtracking sometimes because of the market or whatnot. But we want to build a train track so you're on that track and you're going to get to your destination. And that's it. We don't want to build these winding roads and people get lost and they don't know the mission. They don't know what the owner's vision is. They don't know. They've got to pull out a map and go find where they need to go. But I think when we go into initiatives and we spend money on something, let's say there's a restaurant and they want a brick pizza oven. Well, they're an ice cream shop. Well, are they selling ice cream or pizza, or what's the deal? Or maybe both. But if you're not focused on your mission, it really, now you just spent $5,000 on this pizza oven, and it's really not. It's not a great initiative for your business.
Yes.
So and Dylan, we talked about this as well, that, staying on topic and on brand, especially with the Pecan Ridge. You guys do multiple things but everything you do seems to fit into the brand that you're already building. And when you do venture a little bit across the line, you ask for help and you say, hey, is this right? Or am I crazy?
I love what you just said, because as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, it's so easy to get excited about absolutely everything. So to have someone like Lubbock Consulting by your side being like, hey, I love where your passion is, and I love that you have this passion, but let's refocus it into a way that will benefit you and your business, like that would have been so helpful the first 6 months that I was at Pecan Ridge.
Yeah, you've got a lot of energy, and I think a lot of people do have, energy, and they focus it in different ways. And if we think about the energy you focused, or what, were you focused that first 9 months? Were you just, hey, let's go do this, and well, over here we kind of wasted some time, didn't we? And over here we kind of wasted some time. This seems to work, and sometimes you got to check the fences, right? Be like the Raptors in Jurassic Park, and you got to check the fences, see if they're electrified or not. But sometimes you've got to refocus and go after that one thing and say, or those three main things. So that's that's one thing that I think that I do pretty well as a business owner is I will tell you, hey, this falls within this other category, and I don't want to touch that. I have partners out there that will do these things that will be the best for you. If I am not going to give you 100% of what you need, I try to connect you with someone who will, because I try to stay within my core competencies and within my brand. So if it's outside the operations and leadership kind of realm, then I try to kind of defer that to one of my trusted partners.
So is that a problem? Well, I mean, first off, I think it's a great point. Like, when we are a small business, we have a very finite labor resource, right? We only have maybe under 5 employees probably, and definitely like if we're spending time, it's not just about putting in hours, right? It's about putting in hours on the right types of things. And I think especially if you can help people focus on those core areas where they can get that rate of return out of their labor and their hard work. That's definitely a huge thing in small business, because I know in my business I've sat there and I've worked on stuff and it's like, wow. Next week I sat there and thought about it and I was like, well, that was useless.
Yeah, I just spent all day on that. Oh my gosh, yeah.
And then you're just like, wow, this is junk. Like, but I mean, definitely like what you're saying, like testing the fences is definitely like, oh, okay, well, I'm an IT group, should I do websites? Well, I mean, branding's not one of my strengths, but I mean, obviously, like if you tell me what you want your website to look like, I can do it. But does that mean like I should do that or not? Yeah, maybe, I don't know. So.
Yeah. Well, and I think, and both of you have seen the scalability worksheet that I sent out. And, that's a really, really simplified version. It's a PDF. By the way, you can get that PDF for free. Email me at Cory@LubbockConsulting.com.
Super helpful, by the way.
And I will send that PDF to you directly. And what it does is it breaks down, hey, here's my service offerings. Here's how easy it is to scale on these 3 main topics. Now, obviously, again, it's super, super simplified. There's a lot deeper that I can get into scalability of your thing, or viability, or leveraging your debt, or leveraging your business on some of these initiatives. So there's all kinds of different tools. But for this thing, you want to see how well it is to automate. So what Philip was talking about earlier about automation. If it's automatable, if you can do some automation with it, or you can train up an employee, that's the second choice. How easy is it to train up an employee? And then the third choice, or the third kind of thing, is how much time is it going to take of mine? Is it easy to train up an employee, or do I need to be hands-on with this? So from automation to employee to you. And so obviously the you is, the answer you don't want. It's not very scalable if it takes your time.
Or if you can use technology to audit what your employees are doing, for instance.
Yeah, and that those are tools that you can use. Again, like I said, this is a very simple tool for just kind of evaluating up to 5 of your initiatives with these 3 criteria in mind. The second thing on that list is, I believe, and I haven't looked at it in a while. Does anybody have that pulled up by any chance?
No, I don't.
The other side of it is, so you've got training and kind of automation, and then you have how much of a commodity is. So let's say Dylan, you're in New York and you're giving hot dogs out in a cart. You got your hot dog cart. It's more commoditized, right? You're not providing specialized service in any way, shape, or form with that. Now, if you are Portillo's hot dogs in Chicago, for instance, a little different because they're actually, they've got their brand, they've got their value there. And so you can actually look at the commoditization of that, whether you're bringing value or not, right? So how well is your product or service differentiated in the market, or is it just commoditized? And then the last little bit is it something that clients buy once or buy multiple times? So with website building, they might buy a $5,000-$10,000 website from you, but that's it. So how do you monetize? How do you sell the coffee beans along with the coffee pot, right? And so that third little bit is really important. So what's more scalable in the IT side is virus protection. You can charge per month, every month, for virus protection,
and everything,
and every month, and it'll protect all of these computers. So you've got 5 computers in your office. I'm going to protect each one of those for $5 or $10 each. So 5 computers, $10 each. That's $50 month after month after month. You need this virus protection. Once that computer, if I custom build computers, you're only going to need 5 of those custom built computers for your 5 employees. And then that's it. So that service compared to the maintenance of the computers or the virus protection is less of a viable expansion. So when you want to market into something, you want to push on those things that are very easily trainable or automated. And then you want to push into those things that are very high in value. Your clients see your value as higher than someone else, right? There's a differentiation. And then the third thing is you really want to kind of circle back and say, well, can I charge month over month for this, or is it a long-term thing? How many times can my client purchase this? What's the repurchase rate, right? So those are the 3 main topics of that worksheet. And again, you can email me directly, cory@lubbockconsulting.com, to get that worksheet. I'll send you that PDF for free today.
So Cory, whenever you're doing this consulting for businesses, do you typically find that the business owner, let's just say they're building houses, just to have a good example to start off with.
Yep.
Do you generally find that these guys are experts at building houses, but then they don't really know the best ways to monetize that? They don't really know the best ways to have business processes to create repeatable things. I mean, are those like core business only type, things you would say, well, I build houses. You don't really think about managing employees and generally, are they experts at their thing that they're doing, but not necessarily as good about understanding, oh, well, you're not marking up this material. Oh, well, I don't want to. And it's like, well, you don't understand when one person doesn't buy that, you've just lost money on everything. Or is it things like that come up a lot?
Yeah, I would say it comes up a lot. I think a bigger problem is guys are very expert at their business and their forte, their core competency, like building houses or whatever. And then they're also really good at all of the things around them. However, like I said, that's a problem, is when they're not good at those things, right? But the little peripherals that surround the business, that are the foundations of the business, like hiring employees and doing all of the things like that, that's not so much of a problem. It becomes a problem when they're at an 80% capacity and they're really not doing it well. So they're just, they think they're doing it well and they are not. They're very confident and they don't have the acumen that they think they do a lot of times. And so I find that to be very frightful, because what happens is, if you are not a good manager or leader, you're actually wasting a lot of time on turnover of employees and things like that. Wasting time, you're wasting money. You've got to retrain or train new employees every time you flip a person, right? So you can flip a house, but if you have to flip the person in the seat, right, and then you're wasting time and money. So a lot of people think they're really good at it, or think, hey, well, that's a typical thing, I'll tell you this: the restaurant business, for instance, your typical waiter or waitress, they'll go and work at several restaurants, and they don't care if they lose their job because they're just going to go to the next restaurant. There's plenty of restaurants around. But I'll tell you, so most restaurant owners think that's just part of the deal, right? Okay. Then there's Chick-fil-A, who is a restaurant, and they have a longer tenure for their employees. Same with Starbucks. You have a lot of employees that stay at Starbucks a lot longer. They're well trained, especially in leadership. They're well trained in all kinds of management, leadership, and just even getting the job done and making sure things are running properly. So that smooths out a lot of things, right? When things are running properly and proficiently, and what we in my industry like to call standardized. When you standardize processes, it makes things for employees a lot easier and they stay a lot longer. Then you add in some college and you add in some perks, right? A lot of small businesses can't do that, but you can start on the right path to those things by standardizing. So you can't offer college right away, but if you standardize your business, your employees are going to stay there longer.
And I guess that standardization, I'm sorry, Dylan, I cut you off, but I guess that standardization is also the basis of building a training program, right? Like if I say, hey, we're going to put this door on the hinges, or we're gonna install this door in the frame, right? Like we're gonna do it the exact same. Step 1 is the same, step 2 is the same, step 3 is the same. That way, whenever you hire someone who's never installed a door before and you want to train them on how to install a door, maybe they're a great hire, but they're just like, dude, I've just never installed a door. Then you can give them those sets of steps, and it's like taking somebody to an IKEA and handing them the install instructions. It's like, oh, okay. Well, when you break it down like this, I guess I could install a door. Is that kind of the idea?
I like to, yeah, exactly. And I like to refer back to safety training on a lot of things like that, right? So standardization of safety training is extremely important because if you say, okay, well, we're going to train you today on a forklift. I know, Philip, you've driven a forklift. Dylan, you've driven a forklift before, right?
Yeah, we got 2 at the shop.
Yeah, successfully, might I add.
Yes.
No one's died yet.
But so think about this: if Dylan were to train me, and then Philip were to train me on the forklift safety and operation of the forklift, right? If there's no standardization, Dylan may say, "Hey, this is this, this is that, and here's why you do this," and Philip may say some completely different stuff. What needs to happen is if I am getting trained by either Dylan or Philip, it needs to be the same. And the reason it needs to be the same and comprehensive, right? So you need to be accurate and comprehensive. But the sameness, what that does is it allows us not to skip any steps. We've got one clear message, and Cory gets to go home safe with all of his digits at the end of the day. If you do not standardize, you're risking the life of your employees in some cases. With a forklift, everybody's got a forklift. It's a common part of life, but you still have forklift injuries, right? So you need to standardize those things like training. Now, training on how to use the printer, not as life-threatening, but still, needs to be standardized. Training on how to put in a door. If you standardize those things, some things are trained and some things are you want to hire people to that already have those skills. But like I said, I say a lot is you can hire you hire for personality and hire for things like that, and you can always train skill.
So essentially, it's just like the checklist in an airplane. If I go fly my Cessna 172 and then I let you go fly it, Cory, we're going to do the same before landing checklists. We're going to do the same pre-flight checks because we all follow the exact same thing. It's in that way that everyone's flying the airplane the same way, and it's been thought over how to do it over and over and over. And if we catch something like, I almost forgot to remove the pitot cover, like, oh, okay, we need to add that to the checklist, and then we never forget it again. Is that kind of basically what you're doing to businesses, right?
Yep, absolutely. And when you standardize those processes and you put a rule book into place and standard operating procedure, things like that, those things don't get missed. And if they do, we refer back to it, and that becomes a training moment as well. So we've got the standard operating procedure. You didn't follow it, and therefore this happened. So now we can refer back to it and say, there's a memory for you. This thing happened because of your actions, and you didn't follow standard operating procedure. Next time, here's how to do it. I'm going to help you. I'm going to walk through it. And if you need my help, I've been doing this for a long time. Please ask me. And it becomes a training moment as opposed to well, I don't know what went wrong. Well, it was Dylan's fault for sure. That was it.
Good job.
So you end up having this blame game where we're not blaming Dylan. We're blaming the fact that Dylan didn't follow the SOP, which is very correctable. It's very easy to correct that, right? Now we just show you the SOP and we say, Dylan, here's what went wrong. We know things go wrong. Guess what? That's why we got
and it's also like, why did he not follow it? Did he not follow it because when he was trained by another employee who's, it's maybe not the person that should be training him, or and actually be able to essentially what you're doing is you're building a high level of reproducibility inside the business, right? It's kind of
and that's a great, that's a
McDonald's
great
or
point.
Chick-fil-A, they can sit there and say, this is how we make a Big Mac, this is how we make a chicken sandwich. And we're going to put this same, we're one squeeze on the little mustard gun or whatever it may be. And that's how we put mustard on there, so that someone's not like, oh, I mean, do like a quarter size or like a nickel or.
Well,
right?
Here's the other thing about that, right? It's not about the employee doing it. It's about how much mustard are you spending? What's your food cost on that? One of the things that I wanted to point out before we moved on to that kind of stuff is SOPs in small businesses are great as guidelines, but you had a little comment in there. Why did the employee break SOP? Well, sometimes the SOP is incorrect, and you need to be listening to your employees. And so when they say, hey, we need to adjust the SOP, or hey, this didn't work out in this case, maybe we put a note in the SOP, but we can always say, hey, why didn't we do this? Well, here is this other factor. You need to always be able to, have conversations with your employees. I had many of those conversations over the years of, hey, why didn't you do it the way I told you to do it, right?
Yes.
Well, when I do that, the alarm goes off for 5 minutes and it annoys me, so I just turn it off and accidentally left it off the whole time. Something like that.
Yeah.
So, why didn't you do it the way I said? Well, it's not Cory's way or the highway. It's, hey, well, Cory, I called the client and the client said that they couldn't meet at this time, right? Or something like that. Okay, well, now we had a conversation. Now I've increased my information that I had to make decisions in my head, and we can move on successfully. If you just said, oh, I just did it because I don't like you and I didn't want to follow your rules, then we have a problem. And so we can solve that and when we get it. But normally that's not the case, right? Normally there's some other piece of information you're missing as a leader. Why didn't you follow the rules is kind of one of those things.
And I guess that's also about tweaking your processes, right? So if they say, hey, well, if we're disassembling this piece of electronics gear, and it's like, well, hey, so the reason I didn't do it is because when we take the screen off or whatever, sometimes if it pops off, it may rip this little cord. So I went out of order because I've seen that that's happened, and I'm trying to mitigate that. And so they actually are trying to do a better procedure.
So you just amend the SOP and you move on. And you have to think of, and this is what I deal with a lot too, is we're kind of blurring the line right now between algorithmic tasks and heuristic tasks. And one of the
what is the difference? Obviously, algorithmic is like do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right?
Yep.
And then what is heuristic?
Think of following the SOP, following the instructions, checking the list, checking the box, screwing in things on your
IKEA
an assembly line or IKEA or something like that. You're doing this thing. That's your task. McDonald's workers, a lot of times it's pretty algorithmic, right? Now, what is a heuristic task? A heuristic task would be something like an engineer, an artist, or a manager. And a lot of times, a manager or a leader needs to be able to solve problems organically, right? There's no algorithm that's going to say, well, this is always the answer. Every time this happens, A, B has to happen afterwards. That is the opposite of a heuristic kind of problem solving. Heuristic problem solving is, okay, well, why is the universe expanding, right? So we're going to do all of these things to figure that problem out. There's no checklist for that.
Now, if you had a heuristic task, like you mentioned, great, an architect, right? Could you kind of have a procedure for a heuristic task? Like, hey, if I'm going to design a house, I'm going to design the bathrooms first. Then I'm going to design.
You can have a process.
Yeah, kind of like
a process.
Obviously, it's not a checklist, right? But it's more like a, hey, I'm going to like when we do computer repair, right? Like we show up, we don't know what the hell's going on, but it's like, okay, talk to the customer, get them to reproduce the problem. Discover that problem, try to understand why it's happening. Like, could you do a type? Is that something
absolutely.
that you should do?
You want to have processes that build the framework for your heuristic decision making. So one of the things that we talk about with corporations is bringing up ideas from the employees to the ownership, or from the employees to the leadership. You don't want Joe Schmo coming into the manager's office, just random people from all, hey, I've got an idea to improve the company all day long. Then that manager is just going to be inundated with great suggestions for the company that we really need to implement, but then they can't do their day job, right? So how do we filter that to the leadership in a very, time sensitive, but also, an effective way? Because you don't want 100 requests to improve the company all coming through the door at the same time. So, there's a process to bringing that to the people. So maybe it's a form that you fill out, and we talk about it at our monthly meeting. So we fill out these forms before the monthly meeting. The manager looks at these forms and says, hey, here's some great ideas. We're going to talk about these 5 top things that came up over the month, and we're going to try to build committees to make those things happen at our monthly meeting. But you didn't have to bring that to the manager at the time you thought of it every time, right? So, so that's a process that leads to a heuristic task of solving the problem that the employee brought up, right? That's some kind of process, and you can kind of put those things together. Same with architecture, same with project management. But the Project Management Institute has this huge book, and NASA doesn't even use all of those rules to launch a spaceship. So those are great in principle and a great process, but you need to be heuristic and say this applies and this doesn't. So there's a lot of gray areas in business and otherwise in life. So that's a heuristic thing, right?
Yeah, but that's exactly why someone or a business needs to bring in a consultant or someone like you, Cory, is because there are so many gray areas and there are so many different processes happening at the same time, both algorithmic and heuristic. Like you can map out the algorithmic process, but you can also help with the decision-making process that all these heuristic tasks require. So bringing in a consultant isn't just, okay, we're going to figure out what step 1 through 5, which part is failing and how we need to fix it. It's also the other parts of the business that you're not really thinking of at the time, but that play a critical and vital role to how decisions are being made.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think decision making is one of those things that you still need a process to, even though it's heuristic in nature in these little modules here, but it's like, hey, okay, well, if we spend $10,000 on this initiative, this decision that we're going to make, right? What does that do to the company? Again, with the smaller companies, that $10,000 doesn't go as far, or it goes a really long way, but it can really impact if you spend it and drop it all in one thing. And so are you leveraging your capital correctly? Are you over leveraging your business capital where, hey, if this goes wrong, we can't pay rent next month? That may be too high of a risk. So managing risk, how does, so when we make a big decision to spend $10,000, we need to go through the process of, is this going to over leverage us? Is this too big of a risk? What is the ROI on spending this? Because a lot of business owners are like, that's a good idea. Here's this money. And then it doesn't work out because you didn't really think of it. And then, step 4 or 5, in this decision-making process is, okay, we've spent the money. What are the next steps to actually make the money effective? That's a big thing, that follow-up stage. So a lot of business owners, they absolutely need that second set of eyes to come in and build that decision-making process for them and put that into place. I was working with a company, and they had a set of family members that they were all making decisions, and they're family members, and everybody kind of owns a piece of the puzzle or a piece of the pie. So can't really say anything. If they make a decision, hopefully it's a good one. And so that's really kind of flying
Fingers
by the
crossed.
seat of the pants. Yeah, exactly.
That's too funny.
So let me ask you this, Dylan
What
and Philip, what are you guys like when you talk about decision making, when you talk about, standardization, where would you say, I know Philip has been trying to standardize some processes, trying to make sure his initiatives and his service offerings have been laid out. Philip's a newer business than
Pecan
than the
Ridge.
Pecan Ridge,
Yeah.
but so he's still in some of the beginning stages of service offerings. Does he do websites? Does he do this other stuff? Does he, Dylan, you guys are doing all this stuff. What's the decision making process looking like right now? How do you feel about that? Are you guys at an 80% capacity, or you feeling really good? You think it's top notch?
Well,
my goodness.
I'm definitely nowhere near a capacity problem. To me,
sure.
my main thing right now is, obviously, like, I have some serious tech talent. I've got some serious tech experience. But the main question to me is like, okay, how do you monetize that?
Yeah.
Like, cool. You've got all these skills. Yeah. I've seen myself do it. I'm pretty good. Okay. So what do you do with that?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
absolutely.
It's kind of like if I was Dylan and I stood out in my backyard and I was like, holy crap, it's a lot of pecan trees. What do I do with that? You know what I mean? Like,
No, I totally understand.
it's like you're sitting
okay,
there and you're looking at
yeah.
potential, but now you're like, what do I do with it? Like, obviously I can make money. I've got how many acres of pecans? I don't know. How many
Just over an acre. We got 35 trees.
Okay, so yeah, you look at
Nice.
that and you're like, holy crap, that is going to be a lot of pecans. Like,
Yeah.
definitely, if I could sell these, in bags or whatever, that'd be some serious cash, especially if I can take the shells off of it. Now what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
exactly.
mean, you can do that with any business. You need to figure out a way to monetize it. And I think there's a lot of business owners out there that they know how to monetize their thing that they're doing to an extent. There's a business right now. They are, they're projected to bring in $6,000 this month. Their cost of goods sold on variable cost alone is about $3,000. Then their employees cost about $2,000, and then they've got some additional supplies that are overhead supplies that will probably cost, I would suspect, and I haven't seen the numbers yet, about $1,500. So they're going to have a May that they lose at least $500 on. And so, yeah, they sold the thing that they were selling. They made $6,000 in revenue, but all of the other things added up. They don't really, I have never seen a business plan. There's all kinds of things that I'm kind of worried about. But, if you plan it out and you say, this is how much I need to make things work. So let's break that down. How many widgets or pecans do I need to sell on every day of the week to make that goal happen? And backwards plan a little bit. I think that's another kind of oversight or, myopic kind of thing that business owners do. How much does it really cost? Figure that out, and then backwards plan. You can backwards plan all day and say, oh, let's how much of my time does this really cost me?
Well, it's
right?
kind of thinking about, like, if you go to a trucker and that's an owner operator and you say, how much does it cost you per mile? He's not like, well,
Yeah.
it's 6 miles to the gallon. Diesel's
Yeah,
like
right.
$2 a gallon. So I guess like, no. He's going to say, okay, my truck payment is this much a month. My insurance is this much a month. My tires need to be replaced this often. Like they have to know, like, hey, it's 23 cents per mile for me to drive this truck. So I need to make at least, and if I drive this many hours a day, I need to, and I want to make this much money. This is how much money I need to bill out per day, which means I need to travel this many miles per day in this truck, or else, and if I don't hit this point, I'm not profitable.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
basically what you're talking about, right? I mean, to make it simple, it's
yeah.
same thing with a car. Like, right?
Well, with a
like
small
true cost
business,
of
you've got to
ownership,
keep it
essentially.
simple. You've got to keep, true cost of ownership of the
Or
car.
true cost of producing
you
that
think
product.
about this. Think about this. An Uber driver. So an Uber driver, there's all kinds of costs associated with it. You got your car, you got your insurance, plus usually a little bump for being an Uber driver. Uber provides you some insurance, but your insurance usually wants you to pay in a little bit more if you're going to be doing rideshare. Then you got gas, which is a variable cost. Then you got maintenance, which is also a variable. It's kind of an overhead cost, right? So every couple of miles, you need to change the oil. Hey, your battery's going out, blah, 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 your tires. You're going to be putting on more miles on the car. So all of these things add up. And then what a lot of people that drive Uber don't take into consideration is what is your time worth? So when you are a business owner, you're the Uber driver, your time could be spent doing something else and making a flat $7 an hour, or $8 an hour. But instead, you're really bringing in some revenue, but it's paying for the cost of goods sold, which is the operation of that vehicle. Then you're not paying yourself any money. You're paying yourself $2 or $3 an hour. So I could just go get a job at Chili's or TGI Fridays and get my $10 an hour.
And to use
driving Uber.
I don't remember if it's business or economics where I learned this term, but essentially you need to consider your opportunity cost, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's both a business term and an economics term, right? So when I'm spending $1 on this program, so Dylan and I have also talked about this with Facebook advertising or whatever, right? So I can take $1,000 and reach 250,000 people in Lubbock, Texas by advertising with the local newspaper, which we won't name. Or I could spend $1,000. And how many people do you think I could reach in one day if I just had a one-day spend on Facebook with $1,000?
Yes. And people don't think of that for some reason because they're like, oh, who would ever spend $1,000 on Facebook? And I'm like, why are you thinking of it? Why are you thinking of it like that way? Because
so it's not only that, but okay, how many people can I reach? And then how many people saw the newspaper? How many newspapers were printed versus how many people actually picked up their phone and said, hey, I'm on Facebook right now and I'm scrolling. I'm actively seeing your ad.
And that's one of the things I like about digital ads is you get true analytics.
You've got impressions.
I mean, granted, and the other ones is just like, well, throw some money out there, see what happens.
Yes. Yeah, and there's especially in Lubbock, there's a lot of business owners that wouldn't think twice about spending $1,500 on like an 4x4 newspaper ad that you might see. But if you tell them to spend $300 on Facebook, they'll be like, I could never afford this. That's awful. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's really interesting the thing, and then of course, and while we're on this topic of marketing and advertising on that side, $50 a month for a networking group. We're all in a networking group. Is it worth it? Is it not? So and without digging too deep into that subject, think about your opportunity cost. I could spend that $50 and that hour a week somewhere else if it's going to provide an ROI. If it's not providing the ROI of that $50, if you're not getting something out of it, then you're going to take your money somewhere else, right? Same with advertising on Facebook, same with referral groups, same with advertising in a newspaper or a magazine. Same with your employees. Hey, I spend this much money on this salesperson and they don't really make any sales. That's what an advertisement is. It's trying to get you leads. They're not generating any leads. Then you're not getting your dollar out of it. Same goes for your time. So how much time, that's your opportunity cost. If I were to go put my own building together brick by brick and then put a sign out front and do all this stuff, it'd probably take me 6 months just to even get a foundation going. Like, I don't know, I know how to do things, but I don't have the tools. I don't have the expertise. I'd have to take, some additional land surveying classes and all this stuff to even do that, or I could hire someone. And so that's kind of the way I fall in, and Phil falls into the service industry for businesses, B2B service industry. We kind of help those businesses that can't do it on their own. The second thing is, a lot of people say, oh, I can do it on my own. It cost me $300. Okay, I'll see you next month when you don't have it done, right?
Seriously though. It costed way more than they thought it would. They're frustrated, and it just never happened.
I'll be the first to say, I've got a computer that I got my A+ certification when I was 14 years old. I know how to repair a computer. However, I have a computer, and Phil has my computer right now because he's the IT guy. That's how that works. I don't have the time to deal with that right now. So Phil's got my computer, and that's the whole point, right?
Yeah, and actually, what's funny is the first time I kind of learned about this was when I know this is kind of like bougie, but when I got a house, like when I first started doing Pecan Ridge, I got a house cleaner just bi-weekly, because seriously, just like them doing the house for 2 hours out of the week. So much
less stress.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it saves me so much time that it's worth it.
I did absolutely the exact same thing. Like when I was working out in the oil fields, and so 50 hours a week was kind of standard, possibly more. And it was like, okay, I only have so much time to decompress during the day, and I need to decompress, right? So when I end up coming home, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, you still have to do your laundry. You still have to clean the house. And it's like you're already almost out of energy. And then, like, that's your 2 to 3 hours off. And it's, oh, man.
Seriously. And then you're like, oh, okay, so my one Sunday off this month, I'm going to spend cleaning the entire house. Great.
For sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know about y'all, but it's the mental health aspect as well that goes with that, right? It's like, do I really have to do this? Because, most people think, like, I'm going to be an Elon Musk. I'm going to work like 120 hours and like to hell with sleep, right? And it's like, no, that is not sustainable. Like maybe it is for some people, like, yes, Kanye West, Elon Musk, like those people, for some reason they can do that. But
every entrepreneur, when they start, they're like, I'm going to wake up at 5 and go to bed at 2 every day. And I'm like, okay,
a week later, you're just like, I completely burned out. Like that was one of the things I learned in Silicon Valley that like is a huge part of their culture out there. Is they when I was working out there, I literally had my boss tell me, like, in the first week, he's like, go home. And I was like, what? He's like, go home. You need to go relax, man. He's like, the last thing you want to do is burn out.
Well, and they're talking about right now with all of the people working from home, it's hard to kind of mentally check out because you're not in the office, right? So your office is your home, and you have to balance, and you have to put, so there, one of the biggest pieces of advice is floating out there right now is set up a workspace. That's your workspace. Then you got your bedroom or whatever, so kind of separate those things. I think that happens a lot with business owners. They don't know how to turn it off. Also happens with car salespeople. Sorry, car salespeople, but you're annoying sometimes. And they don't know how to turn it off, right? You just want to have a conversation with someone, and they're talking about the car sales. It's like, well, I'm not in the market for a car right now. Well, who do you know? Like, okay, come on.
That's a really good
talk
point.
Baseball or something, man. So, and it's not just car salespeople. There's insurance salespeople.
No, I've heard sales guys like that. That's all they do, and it's like, bro, I don't even know you. Like, why in the world would I work to get you a referral?
Everything out of your word, out of your mouth, is trying to sell me on something. It's like,
and that's a massive turnoff for me. It's like I'm not even interested in you as a person anymore.
Oh, same. And I'm like an aggressive sales marketer, but like that stuff just absolutely bugs the crap out of me.
Yeah. Well, and Dylan, we've gone out to Farmhouse Vineyards, and we had a good conversation about farmhouse and wine and different things. And that was a good time. I don't think we mentioned pecans a couple of times maybe.
Yeah, I don't think there was like almost anything salesy. Just like,
if you can't hang out and just have a conversation, then you're working too hard. You need to chill out.
Seriously, if you can't enjoy farmhouse vineyards, you got a problem, guys.
There you go.
Well, and also, I think if all you're trying to do,
the business side is, you need to be focused on the things you're doing, and you need to also set time and have that self, right? You need to be able to kind of back away from the business,
like pacing, basically.
Well, not only just that, but think about this: if you are wearing every hat in your business, even me, I'm wearing the hats that I want to wear, and the other things are being taken care of by outsourcing or automation. Dylan has used my Acuity scheduling, right? If I want to schedule an appointment with someone, I send them a link. I want to email you back and forth 18 times to figure out if you're available on Thursday at 2, and you're not. Well, I am.
Actually, yeah.
So this old school way of doing that with the emailing back and forth is just absolutely awful. So, and here lately, because we switched over to Zoom and I didn't have it set up on my Acuity, I've been saying, hey, we're meeting Tuesday at 2, and that's it, and like, oh, I'm not available. Then I just don't respond half the time. We just don't meet. If you're not meeting during the time I've got available, then sorry. And that, that's just kind of a forceful, crappy way to do business. But, that's the way it's got to be for.
Not really though, because even Kayla Sprayberry, I mean, like she's like one of the first persons I come to know here in Lubbock, and I was talking to her for business.
It was awesome, by the way.
Yeah. And the first meeting she had, she was like, "Hey, I only reschedule meetings 3 times, and I don't do business with you. I don't even care who you are." I was like, "Oh, okay."
That's a good point.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple of people out there, and they're probably great people, but they've rescheduled with me a couple of times, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna reach out to you. There's just sorry, I don't have time to do that. And then there's a couple of people that have stood me up, and that's a real no-no. And it's not about me. It's about like just respecting others' time. If you're not going to respect others' time, including me, then I know that there's other sides of the business that are going to not be great. So I don't really want to do business with people like that. So, and that sounds really catty and tacky, but you have to guard your time. You have to guard your sanity, right? So it takes emotional energy as well when you get stood up for a meeting. So you gotta protect yourself.
Your business too, because you don't want to invite someone, I mean, not to get catty, but someone like that into your business or into your workspace, and then that person is just draining all your focus, all your time, all your attention, and you're like, oh my goodness, I have this.
For solopreneurs, guarding your time is one of the biggest things that you can do. And how to do that is getting your appointment setting, either devices or people. Get someone to set up your appointments for you, or get some kind of thing going where you can get those appointments set up. The other side is being able to say no to those appointments. So with Acuity or Calendly, you can block off time. Nobody can schedule in there. I also set some limits on how recent you can schedule with me. So you can't schedule with me within the next 48 hours. That's too close to, I've already probably got the next 48
to call you if you're going to
72 hours planned out. I've already got that planned out. In fact, my entire next week is 100% planned out. Now, am I booked solid? Can I fit you in somewhere? Can I slide something? Absolutely. However, I know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing next week. It's already on the calendar. So for you to just pop onto my calendar within the next 48 hours, we need to have a discussion, because some of those things become more and more important as they get closer to now, right? So same thing with any business owner, guarding your time, making sure that we are planning out and effectively using that time, organizing that time. That's super important, and it avoids those opportunity costs.
I've always kind of wished had like an entourage like the president does, or some of these CEOs where they have like, a personal assistant, like a planner and everything. And so it's just like, I always just feel like, how awesome would that be to like not know what you're doing next to somebody like, excuse me, sir, in the next room we've got Mr. So-and-so to meet with you. It's like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And like never
effective.
have to remember,
That's how CEOs
no
operate.
executive skills whatsoever. You're just like, okay, I just do my job. Cool, got it. Like I've always kind of like wonder what that would be like,
Absolutely. And I think the closer, and we talk about, Tim Ferriss's 4-hour work week. I've always said, take it with a grain of salt, but that is the way to operate at the peak level of performance, is to have someone else do everything that you personally do not have to do. And if you personally have to do it, you're doing it wrong. You as a business owner need to be able to step back away from things. Now, me right now, beginning stages of a business, perfectly natural. I will end up hiring additional consultants. I will hire additional employees to do certain things. I do have automated processes. Eventually, I will be able to step away from the actual consulting side of things for the most part, right? But right now, I'm the product and the service and the owner. So I wear a lot of hats. Same thing with Philip Robb. Eventually you want to hire someone to repair the phone. This is my phone repair guy. All he does all day is repair phones, and he's great at it. And this is my computer repair guy, or this is the same guy, but bouncing back and forth. All of these guys just basically pick up a bin with parts and be able to put it back together. I've got a team. I got someone answering the phones or emails or whatever, and we've got a team of these people doing these things, right?
And I guess like having those checklists, like we were talking about, those processes like documented. When you say like, oh, like for me or you, Cory, and you're like, hey, guess what? I've got money coming in. Like, holy crap, I think I can hire someone. And then it's like, well, what do I need them to do?
Yeah.
And so I guess by having those processes written out and everything, you can sit there and look through it and go like, well, you know what? This is a really technical task. I feel like the customer would be better off if I do this. I'd rather not. I'd rather not train an employee because this takes a very high level of skill. But this other thing I do every day, like checking my email all day, and immediately responding to customers. Well, like I can let my new assistant do that, but then and if they know, if they don't know how to answer that email, then they'll come get me.
I'm glad you kind of brought that up, because that is kind of that is a common thing that you hear. Hey, this is too high level for me to train someone to do, and because this client or something has sentimental value to me, I want to take care of that client because we grew up together on the same street. It'll be good for me to catch up with him, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to say something that's going to be disruptive here. That's a cop-out. That's 100% BS. And you need to have the mindset of eventually removing yourself from, as a business owner, removing yourself from the client interaction. And here's why. You need an exit strategy for the end of your business. One of those exit strategies is I will grow old and I will die and the business will disappear.
Yes.
That is a very West Texas way to think. The other side is I will hand this down to my son, who will then take care of all of these clients. And he needs to be able to have something palatable to take over, right? And then the third is I'm going to sell it. And when you sell it, you will not be the owner. You will not be able to take care of your clients. Now, the best option a lot of times for cash reasons, right? Lots of cash reasons. I want to retire. I want to go to the Bahamas with my cash. You want to sell that business. You want to sell the value of the business, not just the equipment inside of that business. You want to sell the value of that business. So your exit strategy needs to be selling that business. If you are trying to sell, Dylan, I will sell you Lubbock Consulting. It's going to cost you X number of dollars, and you are going to be the consultant. You're going to have to do everything. How attractive is that? Or, hey, Dylan, or hey, Philip, I've got Lubbock Consulting to sell to you. It will run itself and create an ROI. It's going to be
So,
X
I
number of
guess-
dollars, and it's going to be, and you don't really, like, you come in and run it and make sure the books are good, and it's pretty much on autopilot. How does that sound?
So
Does that
I
sound
guess
better than what I offered Dylan?
Yeah. So like it's
You're gonna
it's
pay
like
more for that, aren't you?
I don't remember where I read this, but I read a thing. It was like if you're a solopreneur, you own a job. That's what you do. You own a job, and you know if you own a company, you own a process.
Yep.
And just to throw in
Absolutely.
another thing, like what you were talking about with selling the business, the West Texas, second thing, Harvard Business Review article right here. The data supports the saying, some 70% of family-owned businesses fail or are sold before the generation takes over. Just 10% remain active, privately held companies for a third generation to lead.
Yep.
Yeah, that third generation is actually what I've read is about 4% survival rate. They may hold it or whatever, but it's also a 4% survival rate. So that means the business is just no longer existing, and that's pretty sad. So
yeah, it's insane to me how many businesses do not have an exit strategy. Like, mind-blowingly insane to me. Because I'll be honest, I'm not educated in business and stuff like that, so I know like what I picked up on TV and stuff like that, very minimal. That's like one of the top 3 things I learned, honestly.
Yeah.
So like it just like it's mind-blowing that like people just get into business and they're like, well, we'll see what happens. And
Well, and
don't know.
I think
Just, like,
I think they're
I don't
thinking.
understand how you would operate without knowing where the end goal is.
Well, and I don't think they kind of think about that because I know it's not something I've ever thought about when I've had a business. It's always been like, okay, first hurdle, we've got to get customers. All right, second hurdle, I want to hire some people. All right, third hurdle, we've got to grow. Fourth, like you're constantly worrying about the thing that's going to kill you first. Kind of like, all right, you're sitting in your room, the drapes are on fire. Like, okay, well, first thing I got to do is put the drapes out. Like, wait a second, why were those on fire? Oh God, the whole house is on fire. Like, it's like you're trying to kill things one by one by one by one. You're not actually worried about maybe I should just get out of the building entirely. You know what I mean? Like, you're not thinking about the long term so much as you're just trying to solve little individual problems over and over and over and over and over and over and over.
That is informed when people don't have a business plan. They are fighting, and it's funny that you use the fire imagery there, because people are fighting fires every day, and that's what I help them. We standardize things so you're not fighting those fires every day because we already have a plan. It's algorithmic. When this happens, these are the processes that will follow, right?
So people are
we're not
fighting fires
reinventing the
because
wheel.
of non-standardization of problems.
They don't
right?
standardize, and they don't know where they're going. So when you come up with the business plan before you start the business, or even after you started the business, come up with a business plan, and you say, these are the things we want to do. This is the end goal, right? We want to build this business up to a multi-million-dollar company so that I can sell it. So I can I can bring in multi-millions of dollars into my pocket, right? And then I can retire. Well, if that's the goal, then that's the reason you go out and get clients. That's the reason you're providing a good service to the community. And yes, that is a reason, right? Another reason might be something like Patagonia or Colombia. They have, some nature things. They want sustainable clothing. They want to make sure that they're the people that are producing the dyes and the cloth and all this other stuff, they're taken care of. They're not in a sweatshop somewhere. That's their company's values and their goals. The goal of the company is to exist so that it's good for the community, right? And so they're providing that good or service for the good of the community in their mind, right? Their goal is not to sell it or do things. They're I think they're still privately owned. Maybe they're publicly traded. I don't know. But at the end of the day, they don't care who owns it. They want their value to be there. You shouldn't care who owns your company. Your company should be providing that value to the community. And one of the goals for you personally is to hope that that business carries on with a new owner, right? So that you can go do something else good for the community as a business owner. I mean, that's my perspective, right?
Exactly, because if you exit your business, hand it over to the next generation of ownerships, and it didn't work out, that's because you had a personality, not a business,
Yep.
So that's why bringing someone in like you, Cory, to do all the consulting and make those standardization processes. I mean, like a lot of times entrepreneurs go into business because they have a great personality. Oh, and they also have a really cool thing that they do. You can help them turn that really awesome thing that they do into a long sustaining business, not dependent on the original personality that got the business started. And that is absolutely crucial for a lot of entrepreneurs.
What a compliment that would be if someone came to your business and said, hey, I'd like to buy your business. I believe the same way you do about this product or service. I would like to buy this business and continue it into the future because that's what I want to do. Something that you thought of, you built, they want to take it over. What a compliment.
Exactly.
That would be amazing, wouldn't it?
And I know two solopreneurs right now that have their own successful businesses that they've been living off of.
So are these warm leads or cold leads or no?
But they're both trying to sell their businesses, and both of them have tried to pitch to me. But I sit there and I look at it and I'm like, I could do that, But basically,
you're not selling your business, you're selling your book of business.
Yeah, you're selling your client list, right, and the name.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, that sounds really cool. Like one of them is actually like in an electronics field, and I'm just like, man, it would be really cool to like learn how to do this because the guy works on like CB radios. He actually like fixes VCRs and stuff like that. It's really cool, right? To me at least. I'm a nerd, But I sit there and I look at it and I'm like, okay, he's selling me a way to work for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Like currently with the way his business is set up, and the other guy does shutters, like plantation shutters. That's really nice, but it's
that's
like,
pretty cool.
But it's like,
you're the one doing it.
Exactly what you're saying. Like they've both gotten so old, so later in years, where it's like, okay, well, I've made my money, I'm ready to get out, but they've never thought about what they were going to do when that time came. Yep. And so it's like now they're sitting there like, wow, I obviously have like a profitable business that could give someone a great job. But I learned this stuff so I could do this service. No one like off the top of their head, unless they've been, mostly is going to be able to go like, yep, here's $200,000. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
They're going to have to sit there and learn from you and like everything else. Like it complicates everything. And like,
absolutely.
If they had planned that out to where you could sit there and go like, hey man, listen, you hire a carpenter, he comes and does this, and then this happens, and so really all you have to do is do sales, and if you want to, you can,
I think we're getting into the weeds
out
on this thing, man. But one of the biggest things is building a team around you. Not only insulates you and protects you for the future, but it allows you to do what you're best at, which is owning and running the company, versus doing again, the minutia or getting into the weeds of whatever tasks those people on your team are doing. So that's one of the biggest things I will say about West Texas entrepreneurs and business owners is they're so connected. This business is their baby, and they want to wear all the hats, and they don't trust other people. And it really kind of hurts my soul because this is my home. This is where I grew up, and I want to help these businesses out. And they really don't trust other people, including consultants. But that's how you build a better business. It insulates your business when you start to make more money. Your capacity, and we talk a lot about capacity versus sales. You need to keep those on pace with each other, and you need to build out the capacity with automation and employees versus just selling and hoping that you get it right. To execute for your clients. So, that really is the team building, and building a business around you is the important thing. And that's what my business does for people, is helps them do that.
What do you find are like the most common mistakes or pitfalls that businesses are running into like right in the current environment? Like what's going on right now where you're just like, business, what are you doing?
Stopping the advertising, stopping the marketing, putting things on hold. Hey, I don't have the money for it, so I'm going to not spend any money on advertising. Or like, we don't know where the next dollar's coming from. So we got some money, but we want to stash it away. Well, nobody might be buying your stuff right now, but you need to still stay on top of mind. And, things are opening up, so it's becoming a little bit better. But if someone's not walking through your door, and we're going to talk to some other people later this month as well about, hey, they just stayed on it and they didn't have a lot of sales, but they didn't have a 0 day at all, right? During this COVID-19. They're a retail business. So we'll talk to them later. But, they were staying on top of their marketing. When you stop advertising, you put yourself into a death spiral. You don't know where your next money is coming from. So you're burning through the cash you should have used for advertising that should produce you more revenue to pay rent. And then you don't have any money to pay for advertising or rent. So I would say advertising is more important than rent right now. Paying or getting out there, and you don't have to even pay for a lot of things. We're doing this on Facebook Live. We could do it just on Facebook Live and not pay a dime for most of this stuff, right?
And here's a dirty little secret, because a lot of people are dropping their advertising. Y'all could go to your local TV person right now and be like, hey, what's the cheapest rates you can give me for a couple days? And let me tell you what, they are ready to make a deal right now. Like right now is the time to have a TV commercial, because
there you go.
Butt cheap, guys.
Yeah, I would assume Dylan and Dylan knows. I would assume that's correct. They are cheap. And again, where's the most value for your dollar? Where's the most value for your time? That's a death spiral right there. Not advertising or not putting some marketing out, not doing things. So that's a big concern of mine right now. We're going to see a lot of businesses start to drop off because they weren't out of money a month ago. They're out of money right now, especially the local businesses that they weren't able to get the PPP and some of the loans and some of the things. Then you got people that just took out a big loan to pay for stuff. Well, guess what? A lot of that you're going to have to pay back. So hopefully your business picks up and sells double what you do every month. So are you prepared to do that, to pay off this loan you just took out to cover?
We almost went down that path, and we were like, well, heck, come October, we're going to have to there's no way. I mean, even with us being in season, there's no way. So Well,
I'm not a super salesman, and I preach that all day. That's not one of my core competencies, but I straight up told a business about a week ago, I said, show me your May numbers and I will double your revenue in June. And I might even triple your revenue. And I've told them that, and I said, I guarantee it.
That's insane.
And that to me, one, that's kind of scary, but I know their numbers are so bad that even me, the non-salesperson, can put their marketing together in such a way and actually go out there and sell their product in such a way and put processes into place that they will do double, if not triple, the revenue that they want to do in June. So I think there's opportunity out there for businesses to be, but the thing is I know that because they're not marketing.
Yeah.
They've stopped. So I know I can guarantee you, I can double your $1. Absolutely.
Right.
They're not a multi-billion-dollar company either. So, I'm not trying to brag, but if you're not marketing right now, you're not advertising, you're in a death spiral.
And a lot of companies make the mistake of, oh, well, I can't afford a whole year advertising. It's like, okay, well then just pick a quarter, 2 months, 3 months, and those are your months. And
and here's the issue is you can't afford a year marketing or advertising. You can pick those, you can break it down however you want, but you should be advertising in such a way that it produces ROI. If your ROI is not there, then no, you cannot afford that. Right? If you're getting ROI out of your advertising, out of your network marketing, out of your whatever, if you're getting ROI, then yes, you can afford it. What you can't afford is not to do it and then have to use that advertising or marketing money for saving your butt because you didn't bring in sales. So it really is interesting to hear the logic behind some of the stuff. Hey, I can't afford a consultant. Well, I saved a company right at $1,000 a month the other day, just by having a conversation.
Like, well, you can't afford it because you're wasting
They didn't even
it
pay
over
me.
here. Yeah.
They didn't even pay me. But I was like, hey, are you doing this? And they said, yeah. I said, well, stop doing that and you'll save. And I pulled out, this iPhone has a calculator on it. And I literally was like, in fact, this is probably the last thing I calculated. So it was $2,000. It wasn't $1,000. But I was like, here, let's break this down. Here's how much you're spending per day doing this. Stop doing it. Stop it. And, so it was one of those things where it's like, I can save you money just by having a second set of eyes on things, or I can make you more money by really diving into initiatives. And like I said, I've got tools that are super simplistic, like that, we've got little worksheets and PDFs and all kinds of stuff like that. And then I've got, hey, let Cory deep dive into your business, and we'll actually find all of the things all of the little cracks that we can fix and standardize and save you, my first client was $7 million a year in savings. So, and of course they were making multi-million dollars to have that ability to save that much, right? But you think about that, like I said earlier at the very beginning of the show, the $1 is going to hurt a small business more than it's going to hurt one of those big businesses like GE or something, right?
Yes.
So,
yeah. 100%.
That's
Cory,
that's where I'm at.
Cory, obviously, you have a great method of thinking, and I definitely think the framework inside your brain, that you've built with all this knowledge is really what helps you drive and make great business decisions for people. Where can if you have a young aspiring business owner or a business owner, where can they get some of that knowledge? What things should they be reading, and what things should they be filling their head with to help them get into that mindset?
Well, to toot our own horn, I think, we have some great guests on this podcast. There's definitely some other business podcasts out there that are, they're out there. Find them. Business podcasts are fantastic. Listen to those. I've got a book list. So we're renovating my website, LubbockConsulting.com. And I have a book list. We'll put that back. We'll relaunch that eventually. I need to renovate that list. But if you give me a shout, I can give you a book list. We've got lots of books. Some of the best books, like we talked about, Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek is a fantastic book. Again, take that with a grain of salt. So what you want to do is build a team around yourself. And that is actually going to make your business better, because instead of me relying on myself for information technology and all this other stuff and marketing and all this, I build a team around and say, you're the best at this. I'm not. Lend me some of your expertise. And you build yourself a team, and theoretically you shrink your hours to 4 hours a week as a business owner. And I've always said, if I had that kind of a business, I'd have 10 of those businesses and be working a 40-hour week.
Seriously though, right?
But and that's one of those things. I think Tim Ferriss, I don't remember his original business, but I think, he's a health bar guy, right? He does health foods. Yeah. Quest or something. Was it Quest bars?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, he went from zero to hero overnight, selling all these things, making multi-millions of dollars. But yeah, absolutely, you can build a team with millions of dollars of sales, right? So small businesses, how do you build a team around you? That's one of the things I do, is I help people connect with other people as part of my job. That's just part of the job. I can't do everything for you, but I will connect you with a manager, the marketing manager or something like that. Or, hey, let's standardize some stuff. Let's put some stuff into action. Let's renovate your policy, things like that I do. We can do that as well. So yeah, they go listen to the podcast. Drive by Daniel Pink is another deal. That's really great on leadership and motivating people and how to get people into their zone, right? How to get you into your zone. the things that I'm passionate about aren't the things that you're passionate about. Same thing with you and your employees. So make sure that you're reading Drive by Daniel Pink. That's a great one. And then with marketing, we mentioned it, I think on Tuesday, Building a Story Brand, Donald Miller. I reread that. Someone had mentioned that, and I've already read it, and then I kind of reread that the other day, or listened to it on audiobook. Those are some of the books that I've been kind of absorbing. 10X Rule, just absolute garbage, motivation stuff if you're into that. But it does give you some mindset things, like it's your responsibility to provide for your family, right? It's your obligation. So those are some things that are in that book that you can take away. And then multiple other books. I mean, you can just pick my brain all day on books. What were some of the books I recommended to you, Dylan, the other day?
Oh my gosh, so many. Oh my gosh. And I just picked it up too because I had gotten it as soon as you said that. But it was the one about finding your leadership style.
Yeah.
And the servant leader one.
Servant leader. Yeah, that's a fantastic book.
That's the one I just
flip it up on its head. You're not their boss.
Yes.
You are serving your employees. You need to make sure they've got every tool necessary to do their job the best they can.
Yeah, I just got that on Amazon after we talked about it.
You were the organizer.
Yeah,
do it that way.
Man.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. Love that style of leadership as well as the philosophy behind it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So
before we head out, Cory, are there any business owners around the world watching, what is the one question that every business owner needs to take a deep look at themselves and ask about their business right now? And if they answer this way, they need to see you.
If 10 times the amount of clients that you had yesterday walk through the door today, would you be able to handle them? If the answer is no, give me a shout.
Well, that's
simple as that.
Well, heck yeah, that's simple. That's very, very straightforward. And you're not only a consultant, you also are into the wine here in Texas. You're actually a pretty big figure here in Texas wine. We have a couple more minutes. Do you just kind of want to tell us about that?
Well, we've been trying to get a Texas-only wine competition going for a little while. I named it the Texas Vine. I own that. We're still looking for people to join in on our board of directors and get that going. We've been trying to get it going for a while, and I need to build a team around that as well. So one of the principles on that was making sure that it's Texas-only wine. We don't have a Texas-only wine competition. They do have one that was trying to start up that wasn't mine, and I don't think they're being very successful right now. So,
okay.
So we will be the only Texas-only wine competition. So.
Well, I am definitely excited to see that come to fruition because that's going to be freaking awesome, man.
Gotta love your Texas wines.
Oh,
right?
heck yeah. Oh, heck yeah. Cory, I really, really appreciate it. That was I learned so much. Seriously. If that's just an hour and a half with you, I can't even imagine spending a whole month working on my business. Wow.
Well, you know where to find me. So Cory@LubbockConsulting.com. You can email me directly, or you can find me at LubbockConsulting.com on the web. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, all over the place. So hit me up and give me a shout.
Yeah, as always, those are all in the description for the video.
Yep.
Heck yeah. And if you guys are tired of your technology keeping you away from the parts of businesses that you love, it's time for Rob Technology Group to take care of your business's tech so you have both the tools and time to focus on what you love. Exactly what we're talking about today, guys. From support to virtualization to networking, the veteran-owned and operated Rob Technology Group enables the success of your business with custom-made solutions, guys, that actually work. Call Phil right now. Do it right now. Pick up the phone. Call Phil right now, 806-224-4380. Stop working for your company's technology. Have it start working it for you. That's what it's there for. And hey, we've been talking to him all day. He's been dropping the knowledge bombs all day. You know my man, Cory. Since 2016, his Lubbock Consulting has helped shape the way businesses approach by providing solutions that help their clients become more efficient, more accountable, and more profitable. If your business is struggling to grow, struggling to keep up with growth, or just can't seem to get that overhead down, or if it's one of those questions that Cory had you ask and you're answering them the wrong way, it's time to email him, Cory@LubbockConsulting.com. I am so excited to see what we got for our next show. It looks like Tuesday, We're talking to the one and only Phil. Is that right? Woo!
That is right.
That's going to be a good one. That is going to be a good one. And Thursday, guys, we got Dalton Jansen from Salted Oats. And if y'all don't know about Salted Oats, it's like you got another episode you guys got to watch. Thank you guys so much for everything today. That was a really, really cool show, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Dylan, for hopping in and filling in.
Oh, anytime.